Hi guys, I just wrapped up an amazing interview with Renzo Algieri. He's a very good friend of mine. He's from the UK. He's been bodybuilding for many years and now he helps transform the lives of his clients inside and out using very revolutionary exercises and using the TRX. So enjoy the video. Like, comment, share. If you haven't done yet, please subscribe by hitting the button below and sit back and enjoy.
They were called. That was in 1974, and I was 14, and it was Bruce Lee. It was Enter the Dragon, and I thought it was all going to be about monsters, dragons, but it wasn't. It was this perfectly formed human being, and after that I was captivated, and I started doing hundreds and hundreds of press ups, and I didn't know what I was doing. Do pull ups on tree branches and whatever I could do. I took up judo, which I was rubbish at. Then at 16, I had quite a nice little physique, and I was doing karate at the time as well. But I had access to a multi-gym in our secondary modern school. So I never went and played rugby with the boys. The PE teacher knew me well and he liked me, and he just let me go into the multi-gym. So I'd just do all the machines and
kind of
and
like,
then
I think we all stumbled our way into the. It was like for me, it was very similar. But I was bunking off PE. I don't know if you was doing the same.
yeah. Well, it was like bunking off, but he let me go. You know, he'd let me go to the multi gym. So I'd do the bench press machine and the pec. I didn't know what I was doing. I just did it. You know, I just did whatever the machines did. You know. Didn't really understand what muscle was at the time. The boys were teasing me in the changing room one day, and they said, "Oh, look at you, Algieri, you've got women's breasts." And I got really worried, and I went home and told my mammy. And so we went to the doctors, because my mum was uneducated. She was an immigrant from southern Italy. And we went to the doctors, and he said, I think I got women's breasts. And he said, "Well, take your top off, son." And he said, "That's not breasts." He said, "That's pectoral muscle." He said, "That's muscles." He said, "Get out of my office now." He said, "You're wasting my time." Well, I was elated, of course. So it was muscle. So after that, I wasn't embarrassed at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was only, yeah.
How old was you when you had that? How old was you when?
Sorry?
How old was you?
16.
Wow, so
16.
you had a very good development at that age.
Well, it was a shape, yeah. It was a little shape, you know.
Yeah.
Because I was always chasing that Bruce Lee physique.
Yeah.
And then at age 20, we heard about a bodybuilding show, me and my mate, and we thought we'd have a good laugh and go and see these guys all browned and oiled up, because we'd never seen one before. So I can't remember where it was. I think it was probably Llanelli. So we drove all the way there and we watched this competition, and this guy called Steve Newton came out as guest star, and he had silver trunks, and all the crowd were on their feet screaming and shouting, and the hairs on the back of my head stood up. I couldn't believe how good it was. So I wanted to have a go.
So how long was it until you could beat it? Because I was 20. Right?
Really quick.
Yeah, well, really?
Yeah, well, we had a gym in Haverfordwest, where I was from, Pembrokeshire, and it was all made with car parts and old metal things. And I can hear my little chihuahua barking. She's
my dog outside. He's terrible.
And so 3 months later, I was in the Diamond Club in Caerphilly, in the Junior Mr. Wales, and the guest star was Frank Zane.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
And of course, the stage was a revolving stage. Well, the stage was a revolving stage, so they put the lights out and they hit him with blasts of light, like lightning. So I could see this thing, and I didn't believe it was a real person when I first saw him. I thought, this can't be real. And no, it can't be. That's not a real person. Of course, it was Frank Zane. I didn't even know who Frank Zane was. And I was so completely and utterly overwhelmed and in love with bodybuilding. Anyway, I came third in the Junior Mr. Wales.
So what year was this then, Renzo? What year was this?
Bloody hell. 1980 or 81.
And where was like Frank Zane? Like, was he 1981? So Arnold won.
Yeah, he would have been. He was still. I think he just won one of his final Olympia.
Yeah, because Arnold won in 92 then, didn't he?
82.
82, sorry. Yeah. So he was in the prime of his career then.
Oh, he was incredible. It was. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And anyway, I was approached by this very rugged, quite brash Welshman, Paul Grant, and he said, "Now listen to me, now, boy." He said, "Do you want to win? Do you want to win the Junior Mr. Wales?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, listen to me now. If you do everything I tell you," and he pointed in my face like this, and I was really scared of him. He said, "If you come and see me every 2 weeks up in Swansea," and I thought, my God, it's a long way for me, mind. It was 60 mile round, up there and 60 mile back. How the hell am I going to get there? And he said, "You come and see me every 2 weeks," and he said, "In a year's time," he said, "you'll win it." And I was going, all right then. And I didn't know what, I was like terrified, So he became my mentor and taught me a lot. I'd never seen, well, I didn't know what intensity was until I saw Paul Grant training. He was, he was out of this world. His strength and his determination and his, a lot of people didn't like him because he was rude and brash. I loved him, When he said, "Oh, Renzo, your shoulders are shit," I used to love it. I thought, yeah, they are,
Yeah.
What can I do about it,
Yeah.
So a year later, I won the Junior Mr. Wales.
Wow. Incredible.
So
and like
that's
you said,
a bit of my story.
I mean, it's great. I mean, and again, you come from an era, and I think I was getting into bodybuilding when I was starting to drift out. And some of the things I wanted to talk about today, you talked about like intensity. And nowadays, I don't know if it's because there's more bodybuilders and it's opening up to a bigger community, but that just seems to be lost. People just want the easiest option. Well, like you said, you saw a guy and you saw the way he trained. Nobody trained like that. You knew if you wanted to get better, you would have to train harder. Nowadays, it's just, everyone just wants a quick fix, unfortunately. And one thing I wanted to ask you, obviously, you're very, recognized for your posing, and you can see where it comes from. You have a very classic look, and your pose has always been very artistic and beautiful to watch and tell a story. Do you feel like, obviously, that must have had a massive kind of influence into the way you presented yourself and the way you chose to look? But do you think that's sort of lost nowadays? And if it is lost, how important do you think posing is to developing a physique?
Well, you see, the trouble is, the reason people don't really focus on posing anymore is because it's not really marked. In the old days, it was, So you really, you practiced, And I was influenced by Frank Zane, obviously, then Mohammed Makawi, and it went on from there. Anybody who had anything like artistic, I just watched and watched and watched and practiced and practiced. Of course, I didn't have the muscle development then either. But I think it's lost today because, there's no credence to it. It's there. Most of them do the compulsory poses to music, which is, for me, is so boring. I just go for a drink when that happens. They've got these fantastic physiques, and all they do is exactly the same thing they did in their compulsory posing, but to music, and it does nothing for me at all. So, but I think if they marked it, I think that would, but how do you judge posing? It's subjective, isn't it? That's the trouble.
And I think it all comes down to, going back like further than when I got into it, when you was into, I suppose. I think it was a lot to do with how you wanted to look, rather than just like what you wanted your look to be. Did you, like, in terms of like, I want to win, or I want to beat this guy? Yeah, that must have been important. But, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe a lot of people spend more time in posing as well because they were really intrigued to see how their body would flow, and that was what drawing them into it, to look, look amazing from every angle rather than just in a picture. And like nowadays, you can compete, and I mean, after the show, 2 days later, people look a mess. you know, because they only focused on that.
Yeah, well, I think you know what that, you know, that's a lot to do with other things as well. But you know, we were all kind of in those days there to entertain as well. Of course, we were there to win, but we were there to entertain. You know, we had family members. You know, there wasn't a lot of money about in Pembrokeshire and West Wales. So if somebody was going to pay £10 for a ticket then, which was a lot of money, you know, at least, you know, give the athlete an opportunity to display what he has. And, you know, so there were some really good posers in those days. I don't know if you remember Ray Banfield.
No.
You don't remember Ray Banfield? He won multiple Welsh titles. Well, he was another fantastic poser. And so people were entertained. So they'd go away saying, wow, that was a fantastic show, wasn't it? You know, and you'd get complimented on your posing and things like that. And it was wonderful. So you practiced it, but now you don't have to. So hold on, I'm just going to ask Julie if she can put the sound up a bit, because you just put the sound up a bit. Which one is it? That one there? Oh, there we are. I can hear. Yeah, that's better. I can hear Christian a lot better now. I don't know. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So because obviously, like in the last few years with my bodybuilding, I was trying to get bigger and so forth, and you know, a lot of it was because I wanted to be very competitive. Some of it was because it was just coming quite natural to me to add size. But then somewhere along the line, I didn't really like how my physique was starting to look. And obviously I wasn't doing well anyway, so I really started to go back to the drawing board. And obviously I wanted to try to bring my waist in and so forth. And I found like the posing, spending a few hours of posing, you know, multiple times a week, being in control of my stomach, and being in control of, you know, my muscle contractions throughout different posing transitions, that the development just started coming a lot better. And I saw feathers, I saw lines, I saw the midsection get a lot more controlled. And we can reflect as to where we are now. You know, within this pandemic, I don't know about yourself, but I'm gone from being very active, being up and down the gym floor on my feet all day, to literally being sat down for most of the day and developing that posture. And nowadays, I think because, like you said, there wasn't so much money back then, because all of the bodybuilders nowadays, as much as they're not getting paid kind of for, you know, big prize money unless you're at the top, you can do a lot from it. People are, you know, doing coaching and so forth. Yeah. But it's encouraging people to be more relaxed and more like laying down and sat down the majority of the day. And like I said, back in them days, you were up, you were walking around, you were doing your posing for hours on end. And I think that was a big
labouring jobs as well. You know, there wasn't. You didn't have the white collar worker these days. You know, the office jobs. We were all either in refineries working and or out in farmers' fields. So it was active. So we didn't only train. In fact, when I won the Junior Mr. Wales, I was a postman. So I had a huge heavy bag and I walked miles and miles and miles, and my calves were fantastic. And I never had to train them. So there you go.
Run me back now. You obviously competed as a junior. I'm guessing you was 21, was you? Because you was a junior. You said you were 21. How many years then? Like, I know you come away from the stage for a long time. How many years did you compete until you come away from the stage? So how old was you when you...
Yeah, I won the overall Mr. Wales at 32. And then I finished because I was married to Shamim at the time. And I saw her genetic. I just couldn't. Well, I didn't want to take that step further to try and get into the pro ranks. I just didn't have the bottle, to be honest with you. So I called it a day, and I coached Shamim instead because her genetics were freaky. Because that's just when Miss Fitness was starting off. It was just kicking off at the time. The Americans had already developed it, and her genetics were probably the best genetics I've ever seen in a woman. She had a 19-inch waist, so the size of a guy's arm, and her taper was incredible. So she won 2 British titles. She got a pro card, and then we went to the States. We were invited by Arnold to Ohio to the Arnold Classic, which was the only one at the time. And so I just coached her, and then it fizzled out. 2 years after she'd done all that, she packed it in, and so I just stayed away from competitive bodybuilding. So I finished at 32. So I made a comeback 22 years later.
So why I'm asking now, obviously, Renzo, you're 32 years old. You still
Yeah.
really haven't hit the prime of your bodybuilding career. You haven't hit the prime of your maturity.
No.
You still have a passion for training. You're still in the industry because you're out in, you know, your partner out competing around shows. How difficult was that transition for you to, like, because a lot of people who retire or come away from it, they do it because they have no choice or their body starts regressing. Where you were, you know, you were still climbing. How difficult was it from you to, and how, was it like a transition period of, you know, it was instant, or it took a few years to accept?
No, I think I kind of, I went to a couple of IFBB World Championships, and I knew I didn't have it to get to that sort of level. Don't forget, I competed against Francois Benfato, and when you stand next to him, you just, well, he was just, he had tiny little joints, like a woman, little tiny joints, wrists, and huge muscle bellies, and he still made middleweight, which at the time IFBB was 12 stone 8. You know, I had to stand on one leg to make weight, and you know, I knew then I really didn't have the genetics, or I didn't have the bottle, as you know,
Yeah.
to do what it takes, or the money, to be honest with you. And so I took a step back from it. You know, I still enjoyed the competitions because I still went to them and watched them, but I'd won the Mr. Wales, and that was, for me, was good at the time, and I got top 20 in the world in IFBB. That was enough for me. And so I took a step back. So I never fell out of love with it. I just competitively, I just thought, well, enough's enough, and you know, and I better get a job and earn some money.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it's a smart move because, you know, I'm 33 years old now, and we're at that similar age. And I mean, as you get to around 30, you almost grow a consciousness. I mean, like, you know, when I was 21, I felt like I could run. When I was 25, I could run into this wall and the wall would break. I mean, like, I didn't care if my shoulder was broken, you know. But as you start getting older, you're more aware. I mean, I don't know if you had children at the time, but
Yeah, I did.
I mean, that would obviously throw things into the mix 100%. And you're realistic the way you are. I mean, if you were blessed with God's genetics, now you had some good genetics, of course, because you got the way you were.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you were blessed to kind of sail your way to the top, although it would take hard work, you know, I know what we can relate to. It's like, you know, how much sacrifice do you want to make? You know, do you want to put your body at massive health risks? Do you want to, you know, jeopardize all your family? Do you want to lose all these things? And for what? You know, unless it's not God's gift for you. You know,
That's
so
right.
you know, you find where your passion is. So 20 years later, then obviously, you know,
22.
22 years later, so you know, by this time, you know, you're 44 or 12, 43. Oh, no,
No,
sorry, 32,
I was
54.
54. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
how
I
did you?
look 44.
I know you look. I mean, since I've known you, you always look the same. And when I looked at pictures, you look the same. You need different. Your hair's gonna be lighter.
Yeah, that's, yeah. I'm white.
But what sparked that kind of inspiration to come back then and compete one more time? Well, not one more
Well,
time, to compete again.
yeah. Well, I was quite low, um, in myself. You could say almost depressed. I don't know if I was or not, because I was never diagnosed with it. So I never went to a doctor for it. But I was really down, and I was repping at the time for supplement companies, as you know.
Yeah.
That was good, but I just felt unfulfilled. And Julie, my wife of today, said to me, "Oh, I'm a bit jealous," she said, "because Shamim saw you compete. You know, your former wife." But she said, "I've never seen you compete." So I'd love to see you compete. And it was almost like a Rocky moment, you know, when you see him in the movie and he's on by his wife's bed, and she lifts her head and she goes, I want to tell you something. And he says, what? And she says, win. And the music starts. And it was almost like that. And she said, I'd love to see you compete. And I thought, blimey neck, that's what I need. And that's what started it all. And I was 53 at the time. So I started training hard, and I reverted back to, this was a great learning curve, this was. I reverted back to the diet that I did when I won the overall Mr. Wales at 32. And it failed miserably. I thought, what the heck am I going to do now? So I had to dig my head into research, and everything changes when you get in your 50s. And I didn't know at the time, but yeah. So I made some stark changes. And I think it was April, just after my 54th birthday, that I went up to Colchester with a friend of mine. He was sponsoring me. And I wanted to be that far away because I didn't want anybody to know what I looked like, because I was terrified.
Yeah.
But looking at my physique, I felt that the maturity was there. It was the best I'd ever looked. I couldn't believe how I'd looked, actually. My body responded so well to everything. Went up to Colchester, sat around. Nobody knew me, which was fantastic. And I was in a little black tracksuit, totally unnoticed. And everybody was saying, oh, he's good, that guy's good, he's going to win, blah, blah, blah. And I didn't know anybody. And so when they called us backstage to pump up, it was a big sports hall. So, and I took my tracksuit off, and I just saw heads turning. And I said to my mate, they're all staring at me. He goes, they are. And I wow. And that was the start of it. And that's when I won the overall Hercules in Colchester, beating all the youngsters and all, you know, I mean, Samson Duardo, who was a pro now, beat him. And
incredible. So one thing I want to touch on there, right? Two things really before we go into this, right? Is like, you know, our wives are like angels, right? I think you agree. They know us so well. I mean, they do so much behind the scenes. So one thing I wanted to, and maybe you've thought about this, do you think she said that at the time because she knew that was like a savior for you?
I think so.
And she kind of planted that seed in your mind to kind of fuel you on, which is, I mean, what more can a guy ask for? I mean, like, you know, we don't need a lot. We just need a little nudge in the direction that we want to go.
And support.
And support, 100%. So, and another thing is, like you said, your diet was like, you know, how wrong was you in terms of, you know, you went back to the same diet. So first of all, what was that same diet that you was following? How long did it go on for? And what type of diet?
I did a 12-week. Well, I used to get in shape within 8 to 10 weeks when I was 32. So I did a 12-week experiment to see if it would work, and it didn't.
What was that diet, Renzo?
Well, my macros were pretty evenly split. So that didn't work at all for me. My cardio, I just did stationary bike, and that didn't work. I did the 8 to 10 reps of everything. That didn't work. So I had to change that. And it was only through experiment. So I found that 15 to 20 repetitions actually made my muscles look denser and harder. So legs were always 20 plus reps on everything. Upper body was minimum 15 reps on everything. I didn't do the conventional stuff that guys do, bench press. I hadn't bench pressed for 25 years then. So I've never bench pressed since I was a kid. So I had to change everything. Everything had to be geared towards the feel of the muscle, but intense as well, you know? So I went to pain levels that most guys won't, because they'll do their 8 to 10 reps and take their protein drink and are happy about it. But so I had to change that. My nutrition, my macros completely changed around. My carb, my fats got higher. My protein went really high. I wasn't a heavy guy. I competed at 13 stone 2, but I was on 300 plus grams of protein a day. But my carbs were really low.
You mean when you came back, right?
Yeah, when I came back, yeah. When I was competing at 32, everything was pretty normal. I could have the normal amount of carbs, normal amount of fats, normal amount of protein.
What was the type of calorie was you on then?
I didn't count calories.
So just macros.
Macros, because I counted calories once and I found them ridiculous because, you know, everybody goes on about deficit, which I don't advocate because I believe that high protein diets, because protein's so hard to digest and absorb, that 30% of what you eat, what we consume, is lost during the digestion and absorption as far as protein is concerned. So what I did was swap that round. So I upped my protein, and that actually helped me burn more fat. Because
Renzo, let me just get the door a sec. I think my wife's at the door. I think I'm at the lock there. Yeah? 2 seconds.
Okay. All right.
So your protein, you swapped up your protein a lot the second time round.
Yeah, up
And
my
then
fats.
what do you do then? You up the fats and you pull the carbs down?
Pulled the carbs right down. I ate low Fodmap foods. You heard of Fodmaps?
No.
All right, okay. Well, Fodmaps, the word Fodmap means fermentable oligosaccharides. Saccharides. So any foods that were high in FODMAP, I cut out because they bloated you. So things like onions and garlic and cruciferous vegetables like cabbage, broccoli, cauliflower, took all those out. And then added foods that were low FODMAP. So I didn't get a bloat. So my stomach stayed really flat the whole time. So including fruits. So I added berries instead. So berries are a low FODMAP. Anything that's the low, when you look at the FODMAP charts, there's a huge amount of food you can't eat because it will bloat you. Well, it bloated me. And I thought that was important in your 50s because as you age, I don't know if you know, but your digestive system slows. So you can't digest and absorb nutrients as well. So it was important for me to change that around. So that's when I discovered FODMAPs because I really wasn't interested before that. And that helped me a lot. So I never felt uncomfortable when I ate or after I ate. You know?
Yeah, but was that something you didn't really experience when you was going up to 32?
No, everything worked well then. You know, everything was efficient. I mean, you must feel that too, you know, when you eat. So everything worked well. I could eat, you know, broccoli and chicken and I'd be okay. But when I came back and ate broccoli, my stomach would swell up like a balloon. And I didn't know what that was. There is a condition called non-celiac gluten intolerance. So I can't tolerate gluten at all. I can't tolerate lactose at all. And FODMAPs, high FODMAPs, onions and garlic, I absolutely adore. They're my favorite foods. They make food flavor, but they swell me up like a balloon. So,
to be honest, I got a very sensitive kind of digestion of bowels. I mean, there's a lot of foods I simply just don't eat. I stick to pretty much the same type of foods. They don't bloat me out that much, but they just don't make me feel comfortable. And that's where, you know, a lot of the problems in the past as well is like, you know, especially when it comes to like carving up for a show, you know, been using things that my body's just not used to. And things are just don't agree and just gone with it. Whereas now I kind of like pretty much the majority of my carbohydrates come from rice, because it just sits really good on me. My
Yeah.
protein is fine, but I'm very selective with different vegetables I have. But what I'm doing at the moment, I'm doing some intermittent fasting.
All right.
And I'm doing it for the period of Ramadan in Dubai. So literally, I'm still fasted, and it's almost 7. It's probably like 25 to 7 p.m. here in Dubai, and I'll have my first meal at 7 p.m. And then I eat up until 2 a.m. and then I just fast. And so what I'm finding in this fast period is I'm a lot more bloated, because the problem is I'm trying to get all my meals, or what I feel I need in my body, like 2,000 calories or 200 grams of protein, whatever it is, but it's in such a short window. And I think that's just the situation I'm in at the moment. I could go for lighter protein sources, but I just like to eat, meat.
Yeah.
So what about the training? And the training, you said your training changed massively. So the 8 to 10 worked quite well back in the day, and then you had to go for 15 repetitions and everything, And what about, did you have to like shock your training in any way, or was it just you stick to higher reps, you go for more isolation movements? Was you doing things differently?
Well, I did do slightly differently, because by then I'd studied a lot of kinesiology. So I was interested in the way muscle mechanics, the mechanical movement of muscles. So there was a lot of exercises and the way I did them, which wasn't the conventional way. So a lot of guys didn't understand what I was doing, but I didn't care what they thought. So for me, it was the way the muscle moved. So I researched that. Where does a muscle originate? Where does it insert? Why does it move that way? And without exception, every single muscle always pulls back to its origin. So I created exercises that would do that, So like I said, I eliminated bench press, and I got a lot of flack for that. You can imagine down in peak physique, all the guys are all big benchers, aren't they? And for me, that is a minor exercise as far as the pec is concerned. As far for me, anything that doesn't adduct and rotate the arm, then it doesn't really work the pec to its fullest. So, and I kind of proved that, because my pecs will look fantastic on competition day. So
yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. And I've been away from the bench press for many years. I love bench press. Me and Gerald was training year in, year out. Well, and I've been doing the same up until that point. And my chest was really poor. I was a good lifter. I was always strong. I just didn't have the development. And when I started coming away and learning more, muscle activation, mind to muscle connection, isolation, I just found the development far faster. And in fact, James put me on a program probably like 2 years ago, and it was a push-pull legs program. And it was all, bench press, this. And I really didn't agree with it. It didn't sit well in my mind, because I kind of trained, but I went along with it. And I got a little minor tear to my pec, right? On the way down, I felt the rip, right? And since then, it must have been like my second workout in. Since then, I haven't touched the barbell press.
Very dangerous movement. You think about the load. Yeah. Think about the load. It's at its greatest load on the insertion. So you're coming down, and where your insertion is, and you've got this massive load where your pec is weakest. So yeah, I didn't. And the amount of rotator cuff injuries I've seen with bench press. I'm not knocking bench press, because it works very well for some guys, but for me it didn't work at all.
What I found, Renzo, I don't know if you agree with this. The problem I find, the biggest problem with the bench press, as well as the movement not being very safe and potentially causing injury, is it requires a lot of ego, or maybe it doesn't require, but people fall into that ego trap. They want to, how much do you bench? Oh, well, I did 100 last week, I did 120, 120, 140. And they forget the whole purpose, the mechanics of what they're doing. They just want to lift more. And I've done it. I've been on the bench press nowadays, back in the day. And I was pushing, and I got off the lift, and I just felt it everywhere else, bar my chest. And I thought, what am I doing? I feel my eyeballs feel like they're going to explode, but I feel nothing. So for that reason, even back then, I was always a feet away from it, because I was like, I'm not lifting this with the intention of building muscle. I'm lifting it to lift more. And I'm always falling back into that same cycle. And I've seen many guys tear their pec, And usually, right,
I have
it's
this whole,
because they just lifting too much weight as well. Obviously, the movement doesn't put you in the right, movement. But if you, for example, did a bench press last and you really focused on very slow control and controlling the way up, yeah, okay, it might not be the safest one you can do, but the chance that you tear a muscle in that position then would be far less. But then
yeah,
who's going to enjoy lifting 2 plates aside?
yeah, that's right. Well, I never thought of it like that. You see, all I did was I just wanted to build a really nice shape and a nice physique. So I just went along with whatever exercise did that. For me, it wasn't a question of having to do what people call the basics, because they just didn't work for me.
Mm.
So I guess it was controversial. I still am. I coach clients now, and not a single one of them does a bench press. They're not allowed. Not in my presence, anyway. They can go to some other coach if they want to do bench pressing.
So tell us what, obviously, I know you've been doing a lot of the TRX work. I've been seeing, your videos and everything you're putting out there, because, that is a great, especially now, I mean, in this situation where people are forced to be in their home and they haven't got any gym equipment. I mean, if there was one bit of kit they could invest in, would be a TRX, right? So you've obviously done a lot of research and you've been studying and you've experienced and you've got a lot of clients. Why would you favor the TRX now? What's the benefits?
I don't favour it over weights, but it is different. It's a convenient way of working the whole body. What it does, completely different to weights, is really attack your core in a big, big way, because nearly every exercise that you do with a TRX involves the core. I didn't realise that until I tried it, and I realised how weak my core was. I thought, here I was, all muscular, nice physique, that would be no problem. But no, I was absolutely awful at it. And so, yeah, it's a great way of hitting the muscles at different angles. TRX is great for beginners, because just by adjusting your feet in certain angles, you can make it easier or harder. So they can go with whatever limit they're at the time, rather than sticking a bar on them. And
for this particular time,
well, you could take it anywhere. You can put in a little black small bag that it comes in, and you can go take it on holiday with you. You can wrap it around anything: a post, a lamppost, a door. It's great. It's a whole gym with 2 straps, so you can literally legs, chest, shoulders, biceps, triceps, back, the lot, core mainly. The best I know at it, only because I know he is, because I gave him a TRX. I didn't know what it was when I was repping 13 years ago. Somebody gave me a TRX. I went round one of my calls. They said, "Do you want this thing?" I said, "What is it?" I gave it to Nico, my son. And he was just starting PTing in London. I said, "Take a look at this thing." He claims I called it a T-Rex, which is quite funny. And he put it in the boot of his car for 3 years. And then one day he saw a video on it by the founder, Randy Hendrick. And he thought, my God, this is my niche. This is how I'm going to make it in London. And he did. He started in Hyde Park. He used to put it round a branch. He had this special tree that he used. And that's how it all started. Now he's probably one of the best TRXs in the world. And makes a fortune on Zoom twice a week at the moment. So he does really well. In London. Thank you, Julie. And that's how I started. I bought TRX and put it up in peak physique, and I had some strange looks. And there we are. I got my own little studio now in Llanyshin, and it's great.
Yeah, wow, that's great. I mean, I used to live in Llanyshin for a while. Beautiful place. I loved it.
Yeah.
So, and which part, whereabouts in Llanyshin is it?
It's in the business park. So it's not far from Llanyshin Leisure Centre. You turn left by Llanyshin, or depending which way you're coming. It's by just further down from Ballantyne's.
Okay. What about MyFit? Is that still there? Because that was open there.
Don't know.
Yeah, that's the problem with Llanyshin. It was, obviously, I worked in the fitness first for many years, the one in Llanyshin, Cardiff North. And when that gym kind of got closed down, there was nothing really in the area that was catered for that type of clientele. So,
Sorry, Missy wanted to sit on my lap. So
oh, it's so cute.
all 6.5 pounds, all 6.5 pounds of her.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I got a little Frenchie. So I got a dog back in the UK, right? With my mum staff, which is sad really because we've had him since he was a pup, and he was 9 years old, I believe, when we moved to Dubai. Maybe he was a little bit younger, and we just couldn't bring him because he's the banned breed. And I thought I'd get over here and make some connections, and I would see if I could, but it's not safe. The only way you could potentially get the confused smuggling. But he's with my mum now, and he's looking after her. And we got a little French bulldog. That's why I locked the door, because he's just so snoring, so noisy. But
yeah, they do have breathing problems. Some of them.
So much love. It's incredible. Again, that's why I'm really happy that every time I go back home, I see my dog with my mum. One, I know he's been looked after really well, and two, he's bringing her a lot of love into her life as well, because he's so loving. So it would just be a selfish act for me to try and get him over anyway, because he's got a better life there. But I don't want to take too much of your time, Renzo, but I want to leave with something. Okay. What advice would you give, obviously, a few people, right? First of all, those people coming up who've been into training for many years and have kind of maybe where you were, where you kind of realized maybe your potential, whether it was willing to put everything on the line, and you know, maybe go down a different path and different career. So what advice would you give this type of person? And secondly, what advice would you give people who are where you are now and probably feel like it's too late to start working out or too late to start lifting weights?
Okay, well, those guys, I think the guys who are up and coming, as you say, or in the competitive scene right now, that's what you mean, yeah?
Yeah, or maybe like, you know, around the age where you were, they realized, okay, if I want to go to the next level, I have to really sacrifice a lot of things.
Yes. Well, they've got to look at what you mentioned, really. You know, their family, their finances. The family is always first, without a doubt. So they've got to look at that, and you know, who would it affect if they went for it? You know, apart from their health, would it affect their wives, their partners, their mothers, their brothers, their sisters, their children? You know, who would suffer as a result? So they've got to look at that first. If that's all in place, then they've got to look at their finances. Can I do it? Is it financially viable for me to do it? And then thirdly, and a very important one, am I hungry enough for it? You know, do I really, really want this? You know, and if I do, then I've got to go all out no matter what. I've got to get blinkered. And, you know, as you know, it's a very selfish sport to an extent. So that my advice would be to take all those things into account rather than making a very brash judgment, you know, not jumping at it straight away just because your mates are telling you how fantastic you look in the gym. You know, that's just ridiculous. You've got to weigh everything up and step back a bit, add it all up. Does it add up? Yes. Then go for it. No. Then, you know, call it a day and just enjoy yourself locally. There are guys, mind that, you know, are big kings in Wales, but they never go beyond Wales. You know, they've never dipped their toe any bigger. So I don't know what holds them back. Are they scared? I don't know. I always went for it. I didn't care. I went to World Championships, European Championships. You know, I got second in the world at 54. So, you know,
I guess
it's all down to attitude. You know?
Like I said, as I've got older, I've started to become a lot more mature. I've understood things, and you know, I've become a lot more aware with certain parts and so forth. And the way I look at things, if you want to be the best in the world at anything, regardless if you've got the genetic potential or you've got the intellect or whatever you want to do, you're going to be the best at that one thing, but many other areas of your life are going to suffer. That's just if you wanted to be the best mathematician, if you wanted to be the best teacher, even the best father, if you want to be the best father in the world, every area in life is going to suffer. So you either make that commitment to be the best at one thing, or you be the best you can be at multiple things, but the best you can be. And that's what my objective has been in the last couple of years. I've been trying to prove a point really to many people of, you know, you can run a successful business, you can be a good family person, you can be a very nice, approachable person, you can have a good physique. You know, will you have the best physique you could ever have? No, probably not. But you can balance everything out and just be a really good person in general. And that's kind of where I am in my life. I don't want to be the best at one thing. I want to be remembered for, do you know what? He did multiple things at the best of his ability. You know, and I think so many people, like you said, they chase that pipe dream. And when they get to the end of it, realize, okay, they've achieved that end result. But in doing so, everything else has kind of faded in the background. And this is why I think you see a lot of people get a little bit complacent, a little bit depressed, a little bit lost. And you see a lot of like billionaires, you know, even where they end up taking their life because they're like, what, is this it? Is this what I was working for, my life?
Yeah.
And so secondly then, obviously, because I get this a lot, and you won't get it because nobody can say it to somebody who is living proof of it, right? But I get guys approaching and they want to do something, you know, guys in their 40s, 50s, 60s, but they feel like it's too late. They almost like throw the towel in before they start because they're like, oh, there's no way I'm going to improve. You know, obviously you're living proof, so you all you could say is look at them guys and say, what are you talking about? You got a right to say that to me. But what advice would you give them guys that may be listening?
Well, if they're starting off late, I'd say, you know, research as much as you can. Don't just copy people in the gym. Find out for yourself what really works. Talk to people like me. Don't get hung up on this calorie deficit thing, you know, because there's going to be a lot of hormonal changes when you're older, health issues, metabolic changes, that all of as different stresses, and they can affect you. So if you go on a calorie diet, then you may not hit the mark. So just eat really healthy food. Keep your protein reasonably high as you get older. Train really hard. Look at the mechanics of a muscle. Make little goals, and as you know the form. Just little goals, and they'll get there. Depends where they want to get to. I'm realistic in when I give advice to guys who are starting off late. They're not going to be a pro, even if they want to be. They're just not going to make it. They're too old. But they can end up with a fantastic physique. They can do that, and that is possible. And one or two of my clients have. They've turned out really, really good. So self-belief. They've got to have people around them that believe in them, that love them, that support them. That helps. Stay away from people who sneer at you, who are always putting you down, criticizing you. Most of that's all negative stuff, and that can affect you. That can affect you hormonally as well, because you get depressed, and all sorts of things happen when you get depressed. So guys who are starting off when they're older, yeah, go for it, but you know, be realistic and write down everything as well, how you feel and what you're doing and what you've learned, so you can look back at it as a reference guide. So that's kind of an overview of what I say in a nutshell, in 1 minute.
That's perfect. I mean, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure having you on. And one thing I've certainly took from that as well is like, you know, the message is, you know, belief, and we need the belief around us for one. But for a lot of people, that's something they haven't got very much control of. But self-belief is one, and we're with ourselves all day long. And if we, in one hand, we want to be our best friends, you know, our best employee, and you know, we want to really treat ourselves and we expect others to treat us, because, you know, I honestly believe that if everybody else didn't believe in you, but you did, that would be enough. Whereas if everybody believed in you and you didn't, that's no way enough, you know. But thank you very much for your time, Renzo. It's been a really pleasure, and I look forward to catching up with you when we're back in the UK, whenever that is. It's going to be some fun.
Yeah. Let me know. Let me know when you are, and we'll have a coffee and catch up. I've really enjoyed it. I've never done a Zoom before. This was the first time for me. So it's quite challenging. You know, the questions that you asked me, I had to think deeply about them, and
Yeah.
I hope I answered them well.
It was great.
And,
The beauty of this, I've got a few people on. I just want to have discussions. And the good thing is they flow, and nothing's formal, and it's just like two guys having a conversation, and where they end up, where they end up. But a lot of good stuff come out of it, and a lot of people can relate. And I think you know, I'm always about inspiring. I'm always about trying to motivate. We both come from a place where, unfortunately, there's a lot of negativity. You know, and we know we die in a so. You know, again, it's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to be that all-round person, you know, who tries to give back, do this, do that, and lead an example.
Christian, not everyone's going to like you, okay?
Ah.
And that's normal. And that's normal, okay? That's good, you know? And, you know, there are people that can't stand me. And that's good. Because it'd be a strange old world if everybody loved you, okay? I hope that you do really well, and you are doing well. And I hope that, you know, you get to where you want to be. So good luck to you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. And take care of yourself and each other. You remember who said that?
Oh, take care of each other.
Who said that? Famous line every single show. And remember, take care of yourself and each other. You look a little bit like him now, I gotta be honest.
Go on.
It might be an insult.
Oh, you cheeky boy.
Jerry Springer.
Who?
Jerry Springer.
Oh, right. That's it. That's the last time I ever talked to you.
No. You really look like Frank Zane. You look like Frank Zane. Like your body, obviously, you did.
Yeah, but he's in his 70s.
The pause in. No, I mean, like, you can see, you know, a lot of your character in him as well. I mean, he's incredibly intelligent as well, isn't he? And he's still really...
He is, I'm not.
in love with the whole bodybuilding lifestyle. And, I mean, that guy...
He's healthy.
Healthy. You know, in his mind as well as body, and that's just, you know, incredible.
Yeah. I want to be healthy, so, you know, that's the best place to be at the moment, my age.
Good, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again for your time.
Because I've got to go and apply for my bus pass, okay? So,
yeah, right on. All right, take care, everybody.
Okay, take care. Bye.